Okay, didn't get an opportunity to make one of these last week, and almost didn't get an opportunity to make one this week. If you're wondering why my hat is around backwards, my old hat, I've had three different hats since I started making these videos, and believe it or not, I don't often wear hats out in public, but it's a better, when you're having kind of a bad hair day or whatever it is, to just grab a hat for a video. It kind of became my trademark, but I'll explain the backwards hat. I bought a new hat that I thought looked pretty good on my head, but when I put it on, I looked like Elmer fucking Fudd. So I decided rather than looking like Elmer Fudd, I'll just turn it around for the purposes of this video. I'm doing a requested video today that was brought up to me. I had made some comments actually on this video, but I had not watched it actually. Is it Fit Recovery, Recovery Fit, something like that. And I found I'm going to try not to lose my temper totally in making what I believe is a solid refutation of it, because the video was getting addicted to AA. Is getting addicted to AA a good thing? The guy who's does the video podcast opens up with saying people who are in recovery, that's all they want to talk about is recovery. And is that a bad thing? And he's got this medical expert on, who I'm not going to attack her personally, even though I would say that she has a vested interest in seeing AA going on, brings up that absolutely AA is an addiction, and it's a good addiction, and the reason why AA works is because it is a cult. Well, you know that I'm not going to let that go without trying to call it out. And like I said, I'm going to try not to let my Italian temper get the better of me on this. But I would like to start out by first saying they're only presenting a little bit of one side of the evidence here. They're saying that people who get something positive out of AA, or people who get something good out of AA, it gives them a dopamine rush, and it's just a lot better than being intoxicated. You're only presenting half the picture there, is one major problem I have with it right off the bat. You're glossing over how many people have negative experiences with AA. The entire comment section of that video on Fit Recovery, Recovery Fit, I'm not doing that on purpose to be an asshole. I really don't know if it was Fit Recovery or Recovery Fit. I watched the video about 2 or 3 nights ago right before bed, but you're only glossing over half of it, and some of the things that you're asserting in that video, I'm going to say I have a bit of an issue with, because you say it seems like people who are addicted to alcohol and drugs need some kind of dangerous dopamine hit, some kind of risky high or something like that. That's kind of, in my opinion, a bad generalization you're making there, because you're assuming every single person who gets addicted to alcohol is the same exact kind of person. You're assuming that they're wanting an almost risky, dangerous high, and that it's more healthy to replace it with cult meetings than it is to get drunk. In fact, the doctor, who's an expert, says kind of a lazy bit of research here, in my opinion, when you say, well, people who are addicted just tend to get addicted. And so therefore, it's a whole lot better off if they just get addicted to AA, because the guy who's running the podcast thing even asked the question, well, family members and friends suffer sometimes because of AA members. All they do is live in meetings. All they do is live for meetings. All they do is talk about meetings and talk about recovery. And of course, they point to this picture of, yes, but it's giving these people a dopamine high, and that is a very good thing. I'm going to push back pretty hard on that. For one thing, one of the strengths in the medical community or in the scientific community, and science is a buzzword, in my opinion, that gets thrown around far too often without a good understanding of it. I'm not saying I'm a scientist. I haven't published something that has been peer-reviewed yet, or put forth a hypothesis that has been accepted as a theory. But it's lazy, first of all, in my opinion, to say, well, you know what, we don't really know why, but some people just seem to get addicted, and if they're addicted to AA, it's a good thing. I'm not even got to all that's wrong with AA yet. I'm just starting out on this premise alone. I'll get to other things in a second. Imagine what if you applied that to any other scientific theory, or even some kind of scientific hypothesis. The way that science works, the one strength in science, and I think it's one thing a lot of people actually, it's not that they can't grasp it and don't understand it, I think they interpret it incorrectly, is that science can be proven wrong. Science is always looking for ways to be proven wrong. That is what separates science from religion, in my opinion, in a way that is a huge difference. Is that you could have a broad scientific consensus on something, a broad scientific idea about something like the theories of evolution or the current understanding model of the universe, which is the Big Bang Theory. You could have a large scientific consensus of scientists who all say, all the evidence we've seen so far, all our tests and all our observations and all our measurements, all point to these things as being, the primary explanations for, say, the way the universe is functioning in an ever-expanding model, or the way the species are constantly evolving and continue to evolve. So far, all the evidence that we have and all the evidence that we keep looking for and observing and testing points in this direction. But the major difference between science and cult religion of AA, one little inconvenient truth, just one minor inconvenient truth, can throw that whole fucking thing out the window. Tomorrow morning, something could be stumbled across in a laboratory somewhere by an evolutionary biologist and say, whoa, we thought that abiogenesis, which is not the same as evolution, and I won't get it, all that. I'm not a scientist, again, but we thought what we knew about that was this way. Well, this one little inconvenient truth that we come across this morning in the laboratory that defies all rational explanation turns that theory completely on its head. And now it has to be reworked. And now it has to be started over again from the beginning. Now all of our original premises that that led us to the conclusions that we have, those premises are not valid as of right now, because we have had something that's defied what our current understanding is of the universe around us or any other scientific theory you apply to. Imagine in the field of addiction, if there was any real science applied to it, and unfortunately, the science of that is very, very limited, in my opinion. You have a few people like, I can't say his name right off the top of my head. I'm having one of those gaffe type moments here. I almost threw out a bit of trivia for you. I'll throw it out anyway since I mentioned gaffes. I have the same exact birthday, November the 20th. As Joe Biden does. So maybe I'm having a gaffe-ridden month as well. But I can't say his name, but the scientist who wrote The Biology of Desire, which, by the way, a subscriber reminds me I haven't actually read yet, and it shows, according to their comment, in the videos I make, which I have not read the book. I've read parts of the book. I've seen some of the YouTube videos of the neuroscientist who put forth this working hypothesis about the biologies of addiction, or biology, there's biologies. Anyway, another gaffe, you can hold it against me. There is not a large growing body of science that's dedicated to trying to understand addiction, in my opinion, at least not anything that's getting any kind of mainstream push or any mainstream pushback in the regular world or in the everyday ordinary world. A lot of people, myself included, we don't understand a whole lot of technical terms, and we don't understand a whole lot of scientific terms. And, people start talking about quantum mechanics, they're either one of these Deepak Chopra wannabes, higher power in AA exists because quantum mechanics, or something like that. There was one guy in AA that used to go around saying, the string theory, I know all about the string theory. Well, if you knew all about the string theory, you would know that that's not actually a scientifically accepted theory as of right now. It's actually, it has no basis really for absolute proof. It's kind of limited. It's more of a working theory in progress. It's not something that's been proven. He would go around saying the string theory proves it all. No, the string theory is what it says, a string theory. But to not wander too far off the topic there, what I was saying is, in simple, ordinary layman's terms, most people are not going to try to read a lot of scientific journals. They're not going to try to read a lot of biology books, and they're not going to try to read a lot of books on neuroscience and all those other types of things in order to understand addiction. Lame people like myself, and many others included, kind of like things done, and I don't know if Einstein really said this or not, but I'm going to throw it out there. If he didn't say it, you can feel free to correct me in the comments section. If you can't explain it simply, you can't explain it, right? I don't think that it would be plausible to, let's just say, halt the scientific progress of things in order to come out one day and maybe say to people, hey, We know why you're addicted to alcohol. It's due to this psychological component here, here, and here. It's due to this childhood trauma that you had. It's due to the fact that you were raised around alcohol and it kind of became your ordinary solution. We don't need the, I don't know if anybody knows the band Go-Go Bordello, but we don't need to know about the protons and the neurons and all that other kind of thing. Look that song up if you know what I'm talking about. But it's incredibly lazy to me, incredibly lazy to brush this all off with a broad stroke, categorize everybody as being addicted to alcohol as, well, those people just seem to get addicted to things. They just seem to get addicted to stuff. Fucked if we know why. We don't know why the fuck they're getting addicted, but man, they do get addicted, and you know what? Let's let them get addicted to AA, because they might as well be addicted to something good, right? I haven't even got started yet on why AA is not good. I'm beginning with the fact that, let's just say, a long time ago, back in the Dark Ages, if we had said, you know what, we don't know why these people are having these episodes, we don't know why these people are having these seizures, but you know what, the exorcists are doing really good for the community by convincing everybody they're exorcising these people, and the religious people need to believe in something sacred, so let's not do any scientific progress, let's not have any curiosity outside of supernatural explanations, and let's just say, we'll just leave it at what it is. It's obviously demonic possession. We would have never found out what epilepsy was if we'd have had that kind of thinking. We would have never found out what other types of things like germs are. The germ theory of Louis Pasteur would have never got discovered if we just said, some people get sick. We don't know why they get sick, but man, they get sick, and you know, some of them live, some of them die. You know, that's just all we know about that. It just seems like that's the way it is in this universe. Imagine applying that kind of thinking to any field of science in the 21st century, in the year 2024, and tell me how acceptable it would be to you to hear, I don't know why this is happening to people. I don't know why these conditions take place, but you know what? It seems like they enjoy being addicted to a cult, so therefore, let's just leave things alone as it is. If it's not broke, let's not fix it. I was reading about a debilitating condition the other day where up until very recently, and I can't pronounce the name, but it was a horrible condition that involved all kinds of multiple allergies and everything else. These people were literally living on feeding tubes in dark rooms somewhere, unable to tolerate light, unable to tolerate sound and odor and other things. It was really a devastating condition to read about. Up until about 10 years ago, we believed, the scientific and medical community believed that was all psychological. They didn't believe there was anything wrong with these people's immune systems. They didn't believe there was anything wrong with what was going on in their brains and in their nervous systems and whatever. Just kind of like a system like multiple sclerosis where your nervous system attacks you. They did not know up until very recently, 10 years ago to be exact, that that was a real condition. People with that condition up until that point were placed in psychiatric institutions and told that there was a mental illness they were suffering from and not a real physical illness. Imagine if we had been lazy in our research about that and said, well, those people just seem to be psychologically, pathologically disturbed. We don't know what's wrong with them. So, you know, let's just stop looking for answers. Let's stop looking beyond the surface level of things. Let's stop examining any of this. Let's just leave it like it is, because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? The same problem is going on right now, in my opinion, with addiction. We're not really trying to factor in all the multiple different reasons people might get addicted. I know I'm going to be reminded, probably in one of those comment sections, by a very well-read subscriber who has read more books than I have on the subject, that I haven't read certain books, and that's okay, because I do write those down for my reading list. But imagine if we were able to actually objectively stop looking at addiction as a moral failing, stop looking at addiction as, well, you know what? People just get fucking addicted. I don't know why the fuck that happens, but you know what? If they're addicted to that, they could get addicted to AA. And you know what? Let's just stop worrying about it. Let's not look for maybe the connections to childhood trauma. Let's not look at the connections of learned behavior. Let's not look at the fact that cultures like in, for example, Ireland or other cultures like that, where drinking is a huge taboo, where alcoholism is considered, being drunk is considered a stigma, a huge stigma, and the alcoholism, there is no alcoholism, that's another gaffe, I apologize, where alcohol abuse is at an all-time high. And then let's look at cultures that pretty much have a moderation type example there, where it's not unusual to have wine with dinner or something like that. I think there's in one of Stanton Peele's book, and the addiction rate is not as bad in those places. Let's not look at that. Let's not look at the fact that there are maybe other reasons that people might get addicted to alcohol and drugs. Now, let's just stop looking. Let's stop being curious. Let's stop trying to inquire. Let's stop trying to get to the root of the problem. Let's just say, that's just the way it is. Wow. It's a good thing we didn't use this type of thinking for every other technological and scientific advancement of the entire history of the human race by just saying that just seems to be the way it is. But that's literally the argument I'm hearing in this video. This argument is people get addicted to alcohol, people get addicted to AA, and it's good to get addicted to AA because you're not intoxicated, and therefore it's okay. You just have to deal with it. That's what's going to happen to people who get addicted to AA meetings. They're just going to be addicted to AA meetings, and there's no point in looking at whether or not that's healthy or not. There's no point in looking at any of those things. Now that I've gotten that part of the video out of the way, let's start with the next part that I want to refute here. AA is not a good thing. Is that an assertion that I'm making? Is that a positive claim I'm making? Yes. And when you make a positive claim in philosophical and scientific circles, that generally means the burden of proof is on the person making the positive claim. And I would say I'm not going to go through all the evidence that I have had or all the videos that I've done or all the things I've demonstrated on here about the unhealthy, toxic environment that fosters in AA, that's kind of encouraged in AA. I'm not going to talk about the wall of silence around the predatory behavior of AA gurus, how nobody is accountable to anybody in AA, how none of AA's literature, none of AA's assertions about moral failings and character defects and shortcomings and all those things are based in any reality, any science whatsoever. That it's incredibly damaging to tell people that they more or less are drinking themselves to death because they just didn't want to bow to and obey the will of AA God. You're not giving people a healthy alternative. You're conveniently ignoring all the horror stories that has come out of AA. You're conveniently ignoring entire bodies of work like the documentary 13 Step to Film. You're conveniently ignoring the origins of AA that never had a success rate, that deliberately lied about how well it worked, that deliberately plagiarized some of its stuff from the Nazi supporting Oxford group. You're deliberately ignoring the bad dogma in AA that's not healthy. It's not healthy to walk around always believing you're to blame for something. It's not healthy to go around inventorying yourself and believing that you have to eat shit for the rest of your natural life because, God forbid, you got addicted to alcohol. But you know why you got addicted to alcohol? Because you're just one of those people whose brains wants to get addicted to alcohol, so therefore you need to get addicted to the AA cult. I mean, do I really need to go on for the next 20 or 30 minutes of all the horror stories that I've seen personally in AA, or the testimony of all the people in AA who have talked about the very horrible things they've witnessed? And if you're going to say anecdotal evidence is not evidence, let's just look at the fact that AA has a pathetic failure rate. Nobody in that video that I'm talking about on here mentioned the fact that AA's success rate is very, very minuscule. They sort of glossed over that in the video. They sort of ignored that part. They just said, AA's positive. Well, if you're going to say AA is positive, you're making a positive claim. You're making a positive claim that a religion that teaches you you're just a selfish and self-centered individual driven by 100 forms of fear, full of character defects, totally abhorrent human being who turned their back on God and who just can't get off their intellectual pride and surrender to the higher power spirit of the universe. Otherwise, you're just going to go to jail, institution, and death because that's all you deserve for that being a sick alcoholic who can't lower your pride and bow before the great God of AA and lick the boots of the AA gurus who enjoy playing wise elder statesmen in there. I mean, if you're only going to say AA is good, you're not going to address all that's wrong with AA, then you're making a very faulty claim because you're only giving people half the information. I'm going to give this doctor the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give this doctor the benefit of the doubt to say that this doctor who's saying AA works because it is a cult has no idea what goes on in AA. And I believe if you went to AA for any period of time, you wouldn't have to necessarily call yourself an alcoholic to sit in the meetings. You could just go to AA and say, I have a desire not to drink. Never talk, never get called on, and watch the whole entire asylum being run by inmates unfolding in front of you, and seeing that these people who abuse people, who deal drugs to people, who exploit people are looked upon as some wise gurus because they keep reading a book that claims to be the voice of God in these meetings, who enjoy privileges that would be illegal in the real world. It would be illegal to give some girl who just got out of treatment Xanax pills to get her fucked up again, or to buy a girl heroin just so you could molest her, who's, barely of age, that just got out of treatment. And those kinds of behaviors do go on in AA. You can face legal repercussions for that, but because society functions the way it does, and it says, you're addicted to alcohol, you worthless, filthy fucking sinner, even if that guy did rape you, it's because you're a fucking drunk that it happened. As long as society has this kind of shitty attitude towards a very real problem that probably has very real solutions that we're not actually in the public consciousness working on, and as long as we just make excuses and pat ourselves on the back of, AA's a fucking cult, but it's a good fucking cult. As long as we keep minimizing the real damages done by 12-step bullshit, this kind of harmful thinking is going to continue. And it does make me very infuriated that's going on. I want to give one little shout out, because I think I've pretty much covered it, because it was a short video, a 5-minute video. I'll link it in the description. And lots of people in the comments had a lot to say about it too, including that this doctor doesn't seem to understand what really goes on in AA. But I do want to give a little shout out to the channel Burn the Stigma. She had a YouTube short, and it's so fucking on point that I got to repeat it here. I didn't know anything about this guy, Jelly Roll. I didn't know who he was. I had to look him up. He's a singer, I think, or I don't know. But anyway, there was a video clip of him talking, and he was saying that he used marijuana to stop doing the hard drugs and the things like that. And then it clips over to one of these fucking news programs, and the person sitting there, the anchor, says, well, according to Alcoholics Anonymous, that is not sobriety. Well, first of all, Alcoholics Anonymous has no scientific authority. Alcoholics Anonymous, another gaffe on my part, Alcoholics Anonymous has no scientific backing. It's all based on a made-up fucking cult religion that was ripped off from a Nazi-worshipping Oxford group in the 1930s. It has no research to back it up. It has no market on the word sobriety. It has none of those things. Okay, but you're quoting it on the fucking mainstream news outlets like it's some sort of authority. Like Bill fucking W gets to decide whether a man wants to smoke marijuana to get off hard drugs. That's none of your fucking business, to be honest. Bill W, AA, treatment, or any of the rest of you assholes. There was one other point I actually wanted to make at the end of this, and it seems to be eluding me. Like I said, I'm having a July, like somebody else who's got a birthday on this month. But yes, I do remember the point now. Maybe I should stutter again to prove my gaffe point. I got a comment not too long ago that I wanted to address on here. I just deleted it because they were spamming my channel. And they said, who the fuck are you to question Alcoholics Anonymous? And my response to them before they started spamming the channel was, who the fuck are you to tell me I can't? See, there is one huge demonstration in the difference between science and religion. Science can be disproven. Science is open to being disproven. The whole bedrock of a scientific theory is that it can be disproven. When it comes to something like a religious cult, like AA, it can never be wrong. It can never admit it's wrong. It can never show or be proven wrong because it's not based in any kind of reality. It doesn't comport to anything real in the real world. You don't have any evidence whatsoever that some mystical higher power from beyond space and time reached inside of you and took out your fucking desire to drink. You don't have any proof of that. Appeals to personal experience is not proof, especially when I can find people who did not have a spiritual experience and did the same exact fucking thing. One thing I did see in a debate one time, and I think it told me all I needed to know about this, but it was a debate between one of these creationist fellows. I don't know if it was Ray Comfort. Some people who know Ray Comfort would know what I mean when I call him the Banana Man. He claimed to disprove evolution with a banana. It was kind of funny to say. I don't know if it was him exactly, but it was him versus somebody who is evolutionary biologist in a debate about creationism versus evolutionary biology. Here's the very, very demonstrating answer, I think, that sums up the problem with AA right here in this video. At the end of the debate, when they were open to questions and the answers from the audience, somebody got up and he posed a question to both of them. And he said, is there anything that could change your mind? And he started with the evolutionary biologist. He said, could you be convinced of creationism? And then he looked at Ray Comfort and he asked, or not Ray Comfort necessarily, but the creationist, and he said the same thing. Could you be convinced of evolution? The evolutionary biologist, without even blinking an eye, he looked at the person and he nodded. He said, of course I could be convinced. I just need to see some good evidence, and I would be convinced. If I had one shred of proof that there was something to intelligent design, it would be kind of very, very interesting to find out. And yes, if I had that evidence, I would change my mind immediately. The other guy, the creationist, shook his head and said nothing would change his mind. Nothing at all. He said if anything in science goes against the narrative of what his religion taught him, then if science is wrong, the religion is right. And that's the problem, everybody, with AA. If AA was proven wrong to AA diehard true believers, AA members would just say the science was flawed. If AA was proven to not be based in any kind of reality, the people who are diehard AA gurus, they just keep believing anyway. They'd say, well, I don't give a fuck about the evidence. Hell, I did a whole entire video about some people that said, I don't even care if AA is true or not. No, you don't care if it's true because you're getting your dopamine fix off of playing God Guru in AA meetings and mistreating people and patting yourself on the back and saying, some have to die so that others can live. I wonder what that doctor would say if she knew that goes on in meetings. I wonder what she would say if she knew that meetings sometimes begin with, not everybody gets sober. Some have to die so that others can live. Or if she heard statements like that. Or if you heard a share where somebody began with, I was looking for a parking spot and I prayed and God got me the parking spot. And as I was getting out of the car, I saw a man pass out behind a dumpster on my way into the office building. And he had a vomit all over the front of his clothes and everything, and he had a half-drunk bottle in his hand, and his hands were shaking and all that, and I looked up at the sky, and I said, there by the grace of God. You fucking arrogant assholes in your fucking delusion think you're chosen by some mystical power to look down on the rest of us, and there are people that are gonna actually defend this thing and say, it's a good cult. I mean, that's fucked up. But you know what? I may have made a few gaffes through this video, but I tried to keep my composure and stay on topic. I wanted to rant, rave, and curse, but and I'm not going to promise that that's not going to happen in future videos. And chime in the comments, let me know what you think. Is getting addicted to AA healthy and good? Because I have tons of testimony, both in the online Facebook group and on Reddit and on YouTube, of people talking about how damaging that fucking cult is to them. So to just dismiss it, to only cherry pick the good parts and say, well, you know what? People get addicted. They might as well get addicted to a cult. That's the best thing that can happen to them. No. You should be striving to be a free individual, not replacing an addiction with an addiction. What's the point in life whatsoever if you're just going to give up and say, I'm addicted to things, nothing I can do about it, so I'm just going to stay addicted. Until next time.